Well, good morning, good evening, good night. It's Ryan here at 780 Speed and Custom. Appreciate you stopping by the channel again. Today we're in the garage working on the Biscayne, and my plan is to finish up the brake lines. So I'm going to show you a couple tips and tricks that I use to kind of try and keep things tidy, and hopefully it helps one of you guys out. So we'll get to it. So the original brakes on this car were a single master cylinder. Now, if you don't know what that means, basically your front brakes and your rear brakes were tied in together. If you had an issue in one corner, you lost all of your brakes. Modern cars have a dual master, so you have a separate system for the front brakes and the rear brakes. So if you lose one, you still have the other. So I have since converted this car to a dual master power setup. But if you look at the original brake lines, I'll show you what's going on here. The originals came down off the master, down the firewall to this T, over to the driver's side, and then it ran across the cross member into another T to the right side, and then continues on to the rear. So basically I'm going to use this original line with the exception of this T. I'll put a 90 in here so that this original line can continue, and then I'll hook the rear off the master to this line, which will supply the back side of the car. So one of the things I like to do when I'm designing brake systems or working on lines like this is to use mechanics wire. It's just a thin, really easy to bend metal wire, and what I'll do is I'll use that and kind of mimic what I want the brake line to look like, and then when I go to actually bend the hard line, I have a reference point for all my angles, all my bends, and I don't have to continually go back and forth with the car trying to fight with a hard line, because this is much easier to bend. So I'll show you what I've done here, and then I'll make a hard line with this template. So this is a line that I've bent already. Basically, you just want to take your mechanics wire and bend it in such a way that you can see where and how you want to run this line, and make sure it's going to clear and everything's going to fit. It can be a bit tedious, but once you have this basic template, then it's easy to go ahead and bend a hard line to actually build your brake line out of. So once you have your template made, then you're going to need some form of tubing bender. I have one that gets clamped down in your bench vise, and you can use it to get the appropriate bends that you're looking for. So this is the bender that I have. This one is actually my grandfather's. It's rather old, but it works really good. So you just run your line in through here, and this clamps it down to the bushing, and then you just apply the necessary angle that you want to that particular bend, slide it further through, put your next bend in. So there again, it takes time to do it right, but a tool like this just makes life so much easier, and the brake job just looks so much more tidy when it's finished. So I'll go ahead and build this line, and I will show you the finished result. Well, it took me 2 attempts, but there's the completed product. Not exactly like my template. Obviously, you're going to have to modify it a little bit if you don't quite get it right, but that should work just fine. And there you have it. There's the first completed line that I made. Just makes for nicer bends and a little bit cleaner look anyway than just trying to bend it by hand. So I'll just rinse and repeat that process a few more times until I've completed connecting all of my brake lines, and I can go ahead and add fluid to the system and test it. So I had to build 4 lines total. I got the 2 coming out, utilized the original line, like I said, going to the left and right, had to make new lines going to the front brakes, and then the new single line going that supplies the rear. So all I need to do now is top up the reservoir, bleed the system, and the Biscayne has brakes. Well, and that completes the brake system on the Biscayne. I've got the master bled, everything's bled to each wheel, and the pedal feels good, so I'm happy with that. I think I'm gonna end this video there. Next step on the Biscayne is gonna be to modify that cross member and figure out something for the shift linkage. I've got to rebuild that transmission, so lots of work to do, but that's kind of the direction I'm going in right now. As always, I appreciate you stopping by the channel. I'm Ryan, this is 780 Speed and Custom. Be sure to stick around, there's more to come.